Hi, so welcome to my reread book tag. I've seen quite a few people do this, and I think most of them are working off the tag devised by Scallydandling About the Books. But I know that Just One Reader also did one a few years ago. So what I've done here is I've sort of combined the two because they're pretty short and straightforward questions. I think Scallydandling had about 9 questions in their list, and Just One Reader had 6. So that's just 15 questions, and they're pretty short and easy to answer. So I've just sort of combined the two and made a sort of Franken book tag. I've got the links down below to both their videos and also the list of questions. So if you think that this is something that you'd be into, or if it describes you as a rereader, then you should do it. Okay, first question. Let's assume you do reread if you're doing this tag. So where do you sit on the rereading scale from almost never to all the time? I am 100% all the time. Has that changed over your reading life? I think I've always been rereading. Once I fall in love with a story, I just want more and more and more of it. So I am very happy to go back and reread things. I mean, even today, I'll go back and reread some of my favorite fairy tales, and I don't think that's weird at all. When do you reread? Maybe immediately after finishing a book, or not till years later, or when the mood strikes? It's definitely when the mood strikes. I am a huge mood reader, and everything I read depends upon my mood. Why do you reread books? Okay, I reread books for comfort more than anything else. Once I find a world and a voice that I love, I just want more of it. When I'm down, when I'm angry, when I'm upset, when I'm sad, when I'm just sick and tired of the world around me, what I really want is just the comfort of people who will allow me to live an emotional life with them without asking anything of me. Not to get too psychological, but you know, like I can be sad or in love or have an adventure or whatever, but nobody is asking anything of me. It is amazing. There's no expectation, you know, it's a book. They can't turn around and be like, well, why don't you do that? Or why don't you do this? They can't do anything like that. I love it. It's like maximum benefit for the least interaction. And sometimes I just want to be selfish and have that for myself. How do you reread? Faster, slower, or just the best bits? I don't think I have a one-size-fits-all answer to this because it depends on the book. You know, sometimes I want to just blitz through something, and sometimes I just want to read specific bits. Sometimes I'll start out wanting to read a specific bit, and then I'll remember just how great the rest of the book is, and then I'll just go back to the beginning and read it the whole way through. I don't think I read slower, unless it's something like super literary and I just need to like reread passages and sort of let it sink in a little bit. But that happens once in a very long blue moon. Who or what do you reread more specifically? Which authors or genres or individual books? I find myself rereading romance and fantasy the most, and in romance and fantasy, I reread Georgette Heyer and Robert Jordan the most. With Jordan, I think I just got into the habit because he would have this book come out every few years, and I'd read it and I'd be like, ooh, it's referring to all these other things that happened in the other books. I should go back and check that out. And then I would just end up rereading everything from the first book onwards. And I'm a fast reader, so it didn't take much time, and it was just a pleasure to be in that world again. So I don't know how many times I've reread The Wheel of Time, and even now that we don't have new books coming out, it's fine, I'll still pick it up and reread passages. With Heyer, it's the same. I'll think of a particular scene or an interaction between two characters and just want to read that, and then I'll end up rereading the entire book. Is there a book that you found better when you reread it? Now that you ask, I actually have a series about second time reads, and I've only actually made one video for it, but you can check it out. And it's Georgette Heyer's Talisman Ring, which I read for the first time when I was a teenager, and I didn't really appreciate it, and I DNF'd it actually. And then I reread it and I had such a better time of it, and people had been telling me about it for years, how much they enjoyed it, and I didn't really believe them until I read it. So yeah, you should check that out. A book that you'd like even more upon a second reading / a book that will benefit from a second reading. So a couple of years ago, C.L. Polk released Witchmark, which was highly recommended by a lot of people, and I actually DNF'd it. I don't know why. I think the concept of the book and what I read of it was actually pretty good, but I just couldn't connect at the time. And I think I really, really want to reread it and see how it takes me. And one that was worse. It pains me to say this, but The Grand Sophie by Georgette Heyer, because I love the relationship between Sophie and Charles in it, and I love Sophie as a character, but there is a Jewish character in that book, and it is so anti-Semitic the way Heyer has written that character. I mean, it's a total Shylock character, and it is disgusting. And I'd read it in my teens, and I sort of like skated over that part, and then I reread it as an adult, and it was just horrifying. A book you want to reread because you didn't understand it the first time. I honestly can't think of anything, but if I do, I'll edit it in. A book from your childhood that you want to reread. I mean, I reread books from my childhood all the time, but I'll tell you a series that I really never got into was The Babysitter's Club, and I know that that was really foundational to a lot of people my generation, and they all grew up loving it, and they talk about it all the time, and now there's that series coming out, and I kind of feel left out about it, so I kind of wish I could go back and reread it, but I think I wouldn't really appreciate it at my age today. I think it really is a series that you ought to have read at a specific point in your life. So I think I kind of missed the boat on that one. Like, I've read a book or two, but I don't really remember much about it, and it wasn't like a thing for me. A book you want to reread because you read it a long time ago. Ooh, so this book actually came up in a Twitter conversation that I was having the other day. It's called Pioneer Go Home by Richard Powell, who is, again, one of those really interesting mid-20th century authors whom hardly anybody talks about today, but was super successful in his time. And I read it when I was in my early teens or tweens, I think, and I thought it was hilarious. And if you go on like Amazon or Goodreads and stuff, like, people will tell you that it is one of the legitimately most funny books that they've ever read in their lives, but I don't even think you can find a copy of it these days. And I would like to go back and reread it and see if I still think it's funny or if it too has become problematic in the years since. Which one book have you reread most times, or a book you will read for the rest of your life? This is the easiest question ever. It has to be Wheel of Time. I love that series. There are so many different plots in it that I adore. I like even the problematic stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna be rereading, and I'm not uncritical of it. Like, I will talk about the things that I think were iffy and that I think were wrong and that I think were also wonderful, actually. So yeah, I can talk about it to the end of time. So that was my reread book tag, and if you're watching this and you think, hey, those are questions that I would like to do, then you should do it and let me know. For more videos, please hit the subscribe button.